how porn hijacks your brain and can move you towards infidelity even if you don't want it. If you've had a consistent, frequent, and especially intense porn habit, what you might not recognize is that using porn is changing the way that your brain works. It is creating dysfunctional dopamine pathways in the reward center and the reward pathways from the midbrain up to the front of your brain. What that does is it can create something called the narcissistic bubble. So, when you were young and you found porn for the first time and you felt that rush in your brain, that was your brain changing those dopamine pathways and making it so that you need higher levels of dopamine to feel good. Now, porn, and especially acting out infidelity with an emotionally unhealthy person who's willing to engage in what you've watched in porn, because usually acting out is an escalation behavior for more and more dopamine. So when you get to that point, it's because when you were young, your brain needed more dopamine because of the changes that happened due to the first exposures of porn. Over time, with a consistent habit, now your brain needs a lot. So, porn use can create a sort of internalized drug addiction to dopamine, the molecule of motivation, more, and pleasure. Basically, it will motivate you back for more and more pleasure from the source that you got it. Now, I know this is difficult to understand if you think porn and affairs is about sexuality. It's not. It's about dopamine dependency that's linked to sexuality. So the World Health Organization has recently, in the last few years, named a disorder compulsive sexual behavior disorder. That's in ICD-11, the International Classification of Diseases. So, compulsive sexual behavior disorder is manifested in porn use, first and foremost, and then it can manifest itself in all kinds of sexual acting out ways, which can include infidelity and a whole host of other things I don't want you to know about if you're not aware of them right now. So, the need to act out with another human being is an escalation behavior due to tolerance building. Your brain needed more dopamine because it recalibrated itself when you were young. That's when the hijacker of porn grabbed your brain and took over the wheel, needing more dopamine. That's the seeds of addiction. They were planted when you were young. Now, if you continue to water them over your lifetime through consistent, frequent, and especially intense porn use, what you've done is created an escalation for the need for more and more dopamine. It's tolerance building and escalation, just like in other drug and behavioral addictions. So then porn doesn't do it for you anymore. And the hijacker, that addiction in your brain, what it does is it says, I want more dopamine. Where can I find it? And a usual suspect is infidelity, acting out with someone who's willing to do what you've seen in those porn scenes. What that can do is create the narcissistic bubble. I see that in people's brain performance pattern as significantly high alpha. Alpha is the medium speed. I call it drained brain. Your brain's stuck in neutral, it's flooded with dopamine, which of course, dopamine wants more dopamine. So it will look for more, motivated back for more pleasure from the source that it found it. Your brain was hijacked when you were young by addiction, seeds of addiction that you watered over time. Escalation and tolerance building can lead you to act out with other people. Now, what's the solution to this? The problem is in the brain performance pattern. If your brain is in drained brain and it needs more dopamine, it's going to seek and search for it. Seeking and searching is a dopamine behavior. So it's imperative to regulate the brain. I talked to another client of mine today, and you know what he said? He goes, I've been working on this with cognitive behavioral therapy techniques for so long. He's like, but there's no amount of thinking and talking that can regulate my brain. Regulating his brain using technology is the fastest way to bring your brain back to the healthy optimal levels. Neurofeedback brain training is shown to regulate the brain, which then helps with greater capacity to think and to self regulate. Neurological regulation equals self regulation. Then you use your mind and your body and you synergize in the right direction. Now, for the person I was talking with, his brain was caught in that wired and tired, strained brain. Stress is the number one reason that people act out with porn. Again, it may have been stress relief when you were young, but without you knowing, porn use is stressing your brain out, which pushes you back into the screen while the supernormal stimulus, very high levels of dopamine from porn, are pulling you back. So you have to be careful. If your brain is stuck in that stress activation mode, you are at risk for being triggered back towards those behaviors that took the edge off of stress in the first place. It's imperative to regulate the brain back to healthy levels. Now, one last thing before we wrap up is porn addiction or sex addiction, acting out with other people, is a behavioral addiction, a behavioral compulsion, compulsive sexual behavior disorder. And it's in the same category of other behavioral addictions like gambling, like eating disorders to a certain extent, like spending and shopping addictions, like screen addiction in general. So that pull is there from the supernormal stimulus, and the push is there from the dopamine deficit in your life. So, if you want more information, I'd love to be part of your journey. You don't have to stay stuck in this. You don't have to stay stuck in the bubble where you act out and you're not even aware of what you're doing. What you can do is regulate your brain so you feel and perform better, and that will allow you to move forward and heal your relationship. All right, I hope this helps you out. And until next time, control your brain or it'll control you.